Good morning. My name is Ben Jacobs, your host for the next 5 days. We're about 1 minute away from kicking off with View from the Top. Before that, I just want to remind you once again that engagement is absolutely mandatory. And what that means is having some fun with us. It's deadline day, so I assume that some of you have got Sky Sports on or whatever your local equivalent of broadcaster is, and us at the same time. Maybe you've got a decent home office setup that you'd like to share. Have you got a pet? I've brought my dog along here to Soccerex Connected. I'll post a photo in a moment of her wearing various iconic football shirts. It had to be done, but have a little bit of fun with us and tell us where you're watching from in the world as well. It'd be great to map together. We know that we've got well over 2,000 delegates, so it's the biggest football conference ever. And it's second digital edition, but we of course hope you're healthy, and if we are lucky later in the year and protocol allows us, we might be able to squeeze in a conference or two in person as well. We'd love to get back to Miami, which was the first conference that was postponed. And remember, if you want to win one of those signed shirts as well, you just have to tell us your nickname or your favorite football nickname, tweet us at Soccerex and use that hashtag SoccerexConnected. So it's bang on 12 o'clock now, GMT. Let's kick off. Our opening panel is called View from the Top. A warm welcome to all of our delegates all around the world. And this special session nods to the tumultuous year of 20, and it is unfortunately extending into 2021 as well. We've seen leagues suspended, tournaments postponed, and even though elite level football is back, fans are either back in limited numbers inside the stadiums or still missing altogether. So we'll now hear the perspective and recovery plan from three different leaders. Mariel Corhus, General Manager of the Johann Krauf Institute, will tell us about education in just a moment. Juan Carlos Rodriguez is the President of Univision, and he will speak about how broadcasting has adapted to be COVID safe. But first, we're delighted to get the perspective of the LaLiga President, Javier Tebas.
Buenos días, Javier. Cuéntanos un poco sobre qué tal la Liga esta temporada. ¿Cuáles son tus observaciones? ¿Cuáles son los retos más grandes esta temporada?
Bueno, temporada complicada, como a todas las grandes ligas y ligas del mundo, ¿no? Y los retos es terminar la competición, porque hay que pensar que la situación actual de la pandemia es mucho más difícil que cuando tuvimos que empezar y terminar la anterior temporada, ¿no? En España el número de contagios por 100.000 habitantes en la temporada pasada, cuando terminamos la competición, era 1 cada 100.000, que es lo que se establece en los últimos 14 días de incidencia, y actualmente estamos en una tasa de casi 1.000 contagios. Significa que hay 1.000 veces más de posibilidades que un jugador se contagie, ¿no? Y que los técnicos en su vida en la calle. Entonces eso nos ha obligado pues, a cambios de protocolos, a extremar más todavía las precauciones, a establecer otro tipo de controles. Pues bueno, nuestra burbuja de entrenamiento de partidos pues todavía es mucho más complicada, ¿no? Y para intentar evitar que tengamos que suspender partidos, ¿no? Que a la fecha de hoy no llevamos ningún partido suspendido, pero eso nos requiere pues más información, más trabajo, más decisiones, más comunicación con los clubes, más comunicación con los jugadores. Bueno, un trabajo pues ímprobo que nos está llevando con un equipo humano de muchísimas personas en la liga, que estamos con los clubes, coordinados prácticamente todos los días, pues un trabajo muy elevado, muy fuerte.
¿Cuál parte de ese trabajo destacas o son todas las partes que son lo más importante para poder seguir tener la competición?
El control. Yo creo que lo más importante para mí es que el protocolo, si se cumple, el nivel de poderse contagiar es muy bajo. Si el protocolo no se cumple, hace que el nivel de contagio suba la probabilidad y que se contagien varios jugadores a la vez dentro de tu entorno de entrenamientos o de partidos. Si sabemos cumplir muy bien el protocolo, la tasa de contagio será muy baja. Y si además, como estamos haciendo, detectamos los positivos en aquellos jugadores antes de entrar al entorno de entrenamientos y de partidos, pues evitaremos el contagio grupal, que es el peligro para que se suspendan los partidos. Y eso es lo que estamos trabajando muchísimo en el control previo, en evitar que entren contagiados a las burbujas que nosotros llamamos de entrenamiento y partidos. Por eso hacemos test antígenos prácticamente todos los días, de todo tipo de test antígenos. Y luego lo que hemos extremado, y así estamos, es en el protocolo interno con nuevas medidas, hemos obligado a partir de esta semana a que las mascarillas sean FFP2, los inspectores todavía están mucho más encima de todo este tipo de control, todavía hemos extremado las precauciones en los viajes, en los previos de los partidos. Bueno, hemos llegado a tener vestuarios portátiles en la mayoría de los estadios, que hemos terminado en diciembre de ponerlos, para evitar el uso de los vestuarios en común de la mayoría de los jugadores, para evitar brotes que puedan contagiarse en muchos más jugadores. Pues todo eso es lo que hemos hecho para intentar terminar el campeonato.
¿Cuál importancia tiene la colaboración entre la liga y los clubes, pero también quizás a nivel internacional, con otras ligas, con UEFA o más?
Bueno, es que yo creo que es un elemento clave, la colaboración con los clubes. Es que si no hubiese esa interactuación diaria, cuando hay positivos, qué hay que hacer, cómo lo debemos hacer, marcamos pautas y marcamos... Claro, nosotros tenemos una visión global, entonces sabemos en todos, muchas veces, casos que se producen en un sitio donde se ha producido el contagio y ya nos ha pasado en otro lado, ya se han tomado las medidas pertinentes de contactos estrechos, aislamiento, de vigilancias, por ejemplo, si un fisioterapeuta es fuente o no rápida de contagios o no, todas esas cuestiones sirven como experiencia y entonces todos los clubes, con la Liga nos ayudamos, todos los clubes obligatoriamente tienen una persona designada que está en contacto con la Liga y a la vez con nuestro inspector para coordinarnos todos en las decisiones que hay que tomar en cada caso. Y yo creo que es uno de los temas que por eso está funcionando bastante nuestro protocolo, porque un protocolo no puede ser un papel, hay que cumplirlo y hay que hacerlo cumplir. Y son los propios clubes los que nos piden que estemos encima, que estemos controlando, y aquel que no lo ha cumplido pues ha tenido sanciones, ¿no?
Y a nivel internacional hay mucha colaboración sobre este tema de coronavirus y que coordinar esto con las otras ligas.
Sobre todo hubo colaboración antes por el tema del calendario, ¿no? Entonces, luego ya cada liga y cada depende ya de sus normas sanitarias y de lo que ellos hayan considerado necesario que tienen que hacer cumplir con los clubes, ¿no? Con la UEFA fue una más coordinación de calendario, ahora claro, la UEFA tiene un problema mayor porque tiene muchos equipos de muchísimos países, ¿no? Pero ahora lo que está el sanitario no, pero sí que nos intercambiamos información de lo que puede pasar, del nivel de test, estos test si funcionan, no funcionan, qué es lo que... Y nosotros contamos que creemos que normas son importantísimas para evitar el contagio, ¿no?
¿Ves ya un final a esta historia o no?
Bueno, yo creo que el final del túnel ya lo tenemos, que es la vacuna, ¿no? Ahora el final es la velocidad que se lleve en la vacunación de la sociedad civil, ¿no? Y eso pues hará que cuanto más velocidad se lleve, antes será el final, pero ahí lo vemos, esperemos que la velocidad sea más rápida, porque el final lo veo, pero no sé el tiempo que voy a tardar en recorrerlo, ¿no?
¿Piensas entonces que ya quizás esta temporada ya vuelva un poco a la normalidad o es la próxima temporada?
Va a depender de las próximas 2-3 semanas, ¿no? Yo creo que si febrero al final, pues entre la vacunación y disminuye el nivel de contagio, pues es posible que a lo mejor en abril-mayo podamos estar en los estadios, pero va a depender de estas 3 semanas, ¿no?
Y al nivel económico, entonces, ¿qué daño ha hecho esto a la liga o al fútbol, al negocio del fútbol?
Bueno, el daño es millonario, ¿no? Yo creo que entre la temporada pasada y esta vamos a superar por poco los 1.000 millones de euros de dejar de ingresar, que nos lleva a que menos ingresos, pues todos los compromisos de pago o se han reducido, hemos tenido que reducirlos, o los hemos tenido que financiar, ¿no? No hay más que cuando tú dejas de ingresar una cantidad de dinero, solo que tú esperabas ingresar, tienes dos soluciones, o disminuyes los gastos o lo financias. Pues aquí se ha hecho una cuestión mixta a los clubes y bueno, yo creo que dentro de lo que cabe pues acabaremos medianamente bien, por decirlo así, la mayoría de los clubes de la Liga Española.
Y el impacto sobre los clubes de España en comparación con quizás clubes en otros países, ¿cómo lo ves, cómo lo evalúas? Hombre,
yo lo veo bien. En España lo único que podría decir que los clubes mayormente afectados son aquellos clubes que tienen los grandes clubes, que tienen mucho ticketing, tienen museo, tienen otros aspectos de ingresos que en su cuenta de resultados pues supone una cantidad importante, ¿no? Y esos son los que más se han tenido que adaptar a la disminución, pero bueno, también veo que su capacidad de ingresos, en el momento que se vuelva a recuperar la capacidad de ingresos que tienen, pues volverán a salir adelante, ¿no? El ejemplo, se habla mucho del FC Barcelona, pero Deloitte lo acaba de decir que ha sido el de la temporada pasada, nuevamente, a pesar de la pandemia, el equipo que más ingresó del mundo, con 730 millones de euros, ¿no? En el momento que vuelva a pasar la cifra de 1.000 millones, que será cuando el momento que tenga gente en los estadios, pues yo creo que volverá a una situación no normal, porque habrá que recuperarse, pero no alarmante como se dice. Hay que preocuparse, pero a mí me preocupa más del Fútbol Club Barcelona su problema institucional, que hay que tener un presidente cuanto antes posible para que las 4 o 5 decisiones importantes que debe tomar para el devenir económico del Barça se tomen cuanto antes, ¿no? Algunas serán del agrado de los aficionados, otras no, pero tienen que tomarse cuanto antes.
Entonces, hablando de qué tal al nivel económico con los clubes en España, con la Liga Española, saliendo de esta crisis en general, bien, ¿por qué? Bien, ¿cómo?
Bueno, porque
posible?
nuestro control económico ya advirtió en su momento a los clubes y les exigió una reducción importante de las masas salariales para esta temporada. Y así lo han hecho todos. Pasa que hay clubes que ya tenían compromisos contractuales, como el Fútbol Club Barcelona, que le resulta más complicado, porque no es tan fácil con las masas salariales que tienen los jugadores de los grandes clubes, que esos jugadores se recoloquen en otros clubes, porque tienen importante cantidad que pagar, ¿no? Pero todos, la gran mayoría, incluido el Fútbol Club Barcelona, han hecho una reducción muy importante de las masas, porque si no, nosotros exigíamos y no podían tener sanciones en el ámbito del control económico.
Y entonces, a destacar quizás también de este periodo que el fútbol en España también ha apoyado al deporte en general. Aquí, en vez de pedir dinero del gobierno, ha ocurrido al revés.
Efectivamente, en el mes de marzo, pues la Liga, en un acuerdo con el gobierno que se llama los Pactos de Viana, pues ha aportado al deporte, a la Federación de Fútbol y a las otras federaciones, pues un montante global de 45 millones de euros, pero no solo para esta temporada, sino que se queda para siempre, ¿no? Que es un poco que lo importante es que estas federaciones y tanto la fútbol sepan acometer la crisis con un periodo de tiempo que este dinero les puede generar, yo creo, ¿no? Yo creo que es una aportación. Hoy en día el fútbol profesional español aporta a las federaciones que no sean de fútbol casi tanto como el Estado español. Yo creo que es de tener en cuenta este gran esfuerzo que están haciendo los clubes de fútbol españoles con los otros deportes, ¿no? Más en estos momentos.
Entonces, de cara al futuro, ¿qué esperas del futuro? ¿Qué vamos a ver cuando se trata de las competiciones europeas, por ejemplo?
Hombre, yo creo que cuando volvamos a los estadios y vuelva a la normalidad, que volveremos a la normalidad, recuperaremos lo que pasaba antes. Lo único que con un periodo transitorio económico, porque todo el mundo sale dañado. Aquí no vamos a salir todos corriendo a toda velocidad, pero volveremos al fútbol de antes, volveremos a lo mismo de antes, nuestras competiciones, el fútbol europeo, todo volveremos igual.
Entonces hay muchas noticias siempre sobre la Superliga. Entonces, ¿es parte del futuro una Superliga Europea?
No, vamos a ver. Si la Superliga Europea fue parte del futuro, pues habría que ir ya cerrando las ligas. La UEFA también tendría que cerrar su institución, porque parece que se lo quedan todos en la Superliga, en el proyecto que ha salido a los medios de comunicación. No, yo creo que la Superliga Europea, y también lo han dicho las grandes confederaciones, incluida la FIFA, que no es un proyecto que deba estar, porque además, lo vengo diciendo, es la ruina para las ligas nacionales, pero también para esos mismos clubes. A medio y largo plazo se carga un ecosistema que funciona muy bien y sería la ruina para ellos también. Pero bueno, es el delirio de grandeza de algunos, ¿no?
Entonces, si tú podrías decidir el futuro del fútbol, ¿cómo ves, cómo pintas el futuro?
Pues yo creo que seguimos trabajando en la estructura que tenemos actual, ¿no? Y que yo creo que en estos casos tenemos que intentar que la colaboración de las grandes ligas con las confederaciones siga existiendo de una forma leal, ¿no? Yo de esto quiero y entiendo que la nota que han sacado la FIFA, las confederaciones, ha sido un tema leal como instituciones, ¿no? Tengo mis dudas sobre el presidente de la FIFA, ¿no? Y además creo que es así. El presidente de FIFA debe aclarar si ha participado, ¿no?, en algunas reuniones de este proyecto, que a mí me consta que sí. El presidente de la FIFA debe aclarar si en alguna de esas reuniones ha dado el apoyo explícito a este tipo de proyecto, ¿no? El presidente de la FIFA debe aclarar si el nombre que aparece en clave W01 en los documentos que han repartido estos que están liderando este proyecto se refieren a Gianni Infantino, como todo el mundo creemos, no solo yo, ¿no? Debe aclarar toda esta situación Y él como presidente, como FIFA, tengo muy claro cuál es la postura de la FIFA. La FIFA no es infantino, la FIFA hay más ejecutivos, pertenece a muchísimas federaciones, pero ya lo tengo muy claro. Lo que tengo mis dudas es si el presidente de FIFA está en el mismo barco que está la FIFA, tengo mis dudas.
Entonces, una última pregunta sobre el futuro de la liga. Entonces, hay otras ligas que están hablando con fondos inversores desde afuera para ampliar sus negocios. ¿Cómo ves esto adentro de la liga?
Vamos a ver, yo lo veo bien, o sea, que el capital, que hay bastante capital, quiera invertir en industria del fútbol y en las ligas para crecer y obtener beneficios, que es lo natural, pero que ayudan a crecer esas competiciones, me parece perfecto. Yo ya, en su día siempre he dicho que hay que intentar que esta industria atraiga el capital. No podemos subsistir del propio endeudamiento del club, que está muy vinculado a tus propios ingresos. Tenemos que intentar que esta industria crezca y para eso tiene que venir capital de este tipo de fondos para crecer. Si no nos vamos a quedar estancados en contra de otras industrias como en Estados Unidos, ¿no?
Y cuando hablas sobre la liga en este sentido, ¿estás pensando sobre utilizar este capital relacionado a los derechos audiovisuales y vender esos a nivel internacional o quizás generando otro tipo de negocio?
No, yo creo que en derechos audiovisuales nosotros estamos en un gran... no en el top, pero estamos muy bien. O sea, ahí poco van a poder aportar y también creo que poco podrían aportar en el ámbito de la gestión. Pero bueno, yo creo que donde pueden aportar, que lo que estamos trabajando ahora es en todo el trabajo tecnológico que hemos hecho los últimos 6 años, que es un trabajo donde hemos hecho una inversión importantísima en capital humano y económico, en tecnología, en ecosistema digital, en la OTT, en todo. Pues nosotros creemos que eso sí que tiene un recorrido importante en la industria del deporte en general. El tema de la antipiratería, las herramientas que hemos desarrollado son herramientas que se pueden utilizar en todos los deportes. Nuestras herramientas de la lucha contra los amaños de los partidos o la predeterminación de cualquier tipo de resultado en un evento deportivo sirven para todos los deportes. Nuestro ecosistema digital, de estar en contacto con el aficionado, de todo relacionado que hemos hecho, también sirve para cualquier tipo de deporte. Nuestra OTT sirve también para cualquier tipo de deporte. Nosotros queremos sacar esto al mercado, ponerlo en valor, porque creemos que hemos creado un sistema que puede ayudar a que estos otros deportes, no hace falta que sean grandes, pequeños o medianos, puedan crecer. Hacer todo este desarrollo cuesta 6 años. Nosotros ya lo hemos hecho y lo queremos poner a disposición de la industria para que se aproveche y crezcan también con ello, porque oye, si quieres crecer como liga, como competición de cualquier deporte, si no tienes contacto con tus aficionados, si no sabes lo que piensan, cómo se comportan por tus redes sociales o por tu entorno digital y cómo tienes que impactar para que su experiencia sea positiva y sigan viéndote e invirtiendo en ti, dejarás de ser competitivo en 3 o 4 años.
¿Tienes algún mensaje final de cara al futuro para la industria que estás mirándote?
Bueno, que cualquier decisión que se toma en el ámbito en las instituciones que estamos, yo en la Liga, mis compañeros de otras ligas, o los que presiden confederaciones, o los que presiden FIFA, que piensen mucho el daño que hacen, ya no solo con las decisiones, sino con los movimientos que se puedan filtrar, hacen mucho daño a la industria, que hay que tener mucho cuidado con las decisiones que se están tomando en estos momentos, porque yo veo que se toman muchas decisiones sin pensar en los efectos y el daño que se hace, ¿no? Por ejemplo, se hablaba de un mundial de clubes que iba a recaudar 1.000 millones, es que claro, eso no se está en la industria, no sé, eso sabíamos que no estaba, que era imposible, ¿no? Pues bueno, se van inventando ahora superligas, mundiales de clubes. Cuidado con el ecosistema que tenemos, que como lo tenemos mucho, se puede arruinar todo el fútbol, no solo las grandes ligas, las grandes, las pequeñas, las medianas, todos.
President Javier, Tebas kicking off our opening panel. It's a view from the top. We've got 3 different perspectives. That was La Liga. Before we move on to the perspective of a television broadcaster, just a reminder, day 1 of Soccerex Connected, presented by the Johann Krauf Institute, and you have the opportunity to win. Engage with us using the hashtag Soccerex Connected. And because Krauf had a ton of different nicknames, including Joppy and the Saviour, as well as the skinny one, much like me, we're asking you, what is your nickname? Keep them clean. Or what is your favourite footballer nickname? Be creative, Tweet us your answers, and there's loads of signed shirts. At Soccerex is the handle. Edwin van der Sar, Lucas Neal, Louis Saha, Laurie Lindsay. There's a whole selection, and every day the winner will get to choose from what's left. So, of course, it's advantageous to be our day one winner, because then you can take whatever shirt you want. Each day we'll post a new picture letting you know what is available. So let's continue now with View from the Top. We've just heard from Javier Tebas, the La Liga president. Next up, we get the perspective of Univision, and the broadcaster's president is Juan Carlos Rodriguez.
Ben, thank you for the introduction, and thank you to all our friends at Soccerex. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here. So let's start with setting up a hypothesis that I presume will prevail, and today we do not know when this will happen, but it will eventually happen, which is leagues around the world will eventually want to connect directly with their fans worldwide. What does this really mean? It means that all of the ecosystems in which all of the leagues are based today have to change. COVID has pushed and speed up the timing for it. We believe that it is now the time to start thinking on seriously how to connect directly to consumers, because A, it's going to give a lot of more value to the teams and the leagues, and B, it is now where the technology is ready to start with. So if live content and live sports will continue to be the command premiums in the industry, it is right now the moment to start thinking on the transformation due to COVID and technology innovation. So we're going to discuss today 4 different pillars or buckets of information required to make this change happen. First one is production. Today, we've seen this incredible amount of production trucks coming into the stadiums and sending and producing the images and the whole feeds to the world and send them to the world. What's happening there? Today we have what we call hat tricks, which are connecting cameras and connecting them through fiber to the PCRs, to the control rooms at different studios in the world, and then having a revolutionized capability to produce in a more efficient way. But what's happening today in different companies in the world, remote production, real remote production that includes cameras run by itself through technology, plus cloud-based production capabilities that include directing cameras and EVSs producing highlights and mixing them all of it through the cloud. It's changing everything for the future. So production will inevitably become a commodity that will forever change the landscape in the industry. On the distribution side, 5G is going to become the key element, and this technology will forever change the way we handle many things, including the way soccer leagues are distributed. And what do we mean by this? 5G will forever change the latency, which is the amount of time required from things happening until they are delivered, finished to the eyes of the fans at their homes or their devices. And that change of latency will also give the capability to start having gambling and gaming in real time. So 2 things are going to happen. We're going to get faster the amount of content that we want, and also we're going to have the ability to put product integration with odds, and depending on the legal status of each of the countries will forever be changed on the distribution. Gambling will be a new revenue stream on the soccer world, and that will also change forever the way we have seen productions. So what does this mean necessarily for the ecosystem of the businesses? Today, we go from leagues selling rights to leagues selling rights to people that will distribute them or produce them or broadcast across either their own countries and internationally. What we believe is that with the capabilities of the new production capabilities and the new distribution plus gambling, we believe that they're going to be direct to consumers. So what's next on this phase? The connection, the pipelines connecting the fans with the leagues. So there is also going to be a new entry of either streaming platforms or the actual suspects like the Amazons and the Netflix of the world coming to connect their fans to the leagues. So that will forever change also the way soccer is being done. The third piece of the bucket is data. Data, it's evolutioning from an editorial context to a commercial context. And what that means is that today we have the capability of capturing almost 1 million different data points from each game in the world. What that gives us is the capability to have predictions and enough amount of data that will change the way we have seen soccer across the world. Soccer has historically not been a data-driven sport like the baseballs of the world or the basketballs of the world or the Formula Ones of the world. However, with all of this access to data, we're going to see how this forever changes the landscape. What does this mean to the league and governing bodies? It means that they will have to adapt to a new reality, number one. That will also have the need to change the legal part of this because they need to adapt to this new reality set by the amount of data that is going to be gathered. This is on the sports side. And on the fan side, there is also going to be a big change because once you have the credibility to connect directly to the consumers, the behavior of the consumer will also be known from the time they buy their tickets, from the time they go to the stadiums, from the time they start watching. We are going to know how the consumption habits of all of the fans is going to interact into this. And this will, if you add a artificial intelligence into this, will also help in the prediction of consuming of acquisitions and consuming habits. That will also be an incredible new valuable asset for the leagues and the teams that will help them monetize for the future. So if we move now to the way business is done through the business extensions, we're going to see developments everywhere. Number one, most of the leagues in the world are going to try to look for technological partners that will help them to connect direct to consumers. That's piece number one. The second piece we're going to see is a different sponsorship architecture because now the need, once you have all this critical mass embedded into the volumes of watching games through this direct connection from the leagues to the fans, then a new architecture sponsorship will be required. The third piece is extracting value from data. It's going to be required to have experts in helping the leagues to extract this value from data. And the fourth piece are going to be new partners that will forever change the landscape because now they're going to be able to use this data and connection with the fans to sell soccer jerseys, to sell memorabilia, to sell tickets, to sell even beers and hot dogs at the stadiums. So we're going to see an incredible change on the ecosystem that will prevail for the future. So the question is, when is it going to happen? And this is where COVID comes in again. I believe that the COVID pandemic, what has created, it's a new economic model or new reality that is going to push all of the leagues that today have not the ability to control their future to speed up the process. Because the bigger leagues in the world are still with their contracts of their broadcast contracts. However, the less relevant leagues in the world will now have to start pushing the envelope towards technology so that we see this change that will help them in order to start generating the value that they have lost through COVID. I think it's time to wrap up on the conversation. So we see that there is going to be a connection between leagues and teams through streaming platforms that will require a new production model that it will be cloud-based so that we could produce anywhere in the world, any league in the world. Then the next piece is going to be distribution, in which once we have connected through the streaming models, we're going to have to find ways to monetize that streaming dash distribution models that will include OTT and direct to consumers. Today, there are only two ways of doing this and a combination of them, which would be on subscription-based or advertising-based models. So once the league's defined, that's the way it's going to go. The third piece is data both from the one that is generated from the teams and the games itself, and the one generated with the fans with first-party data in which we will know the habit of consumption. And the fourth piece is the new ecosystem, while we will have new betting companies, new data companies, new sponsors, and new players that will help monetize the leagues and the teams, their asset, which is the most incredible sport on earth, which is football or soccer. So with this, I'd like to thank our friends from Soccerex and let them know that I'm here. If you want to have a session of Q&A, I'm ready at your disposal. Thank you so much for the time and for your invitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to Juan Carlos Rodriguez, the president of Univision. Stay safe. We hope to meet you in person very soon. This is A View from the Top on day one of Soccerex. Ben Jacobs with you. I'm your host for the next 5 days. Do tell me where in the world you are watching. Send me a photograph of your dog, your child, your home office, anything really to make us laugh. Compliments are welcome, even a bit of constructive criticism as well. And as importantly, via the app where you can see the full schedule, make sure that you network as well too. We want, as the name suggests, this to be the most connected football conference ever. And to incentivize that, we've got a great giveaway every single day, a series of signed shirts, and the winner each day will get to pick one of them. So each day I'll post an updated photograph with what's left from the stock. Unfortunately, on day 5, there might be a few less, but we'll keep replenishing things. And it's a mix of shirts from Manchester United, Edwin van der Sar, Louis Saha, some international shirts. We've got Laurie Lindsay, former US women's national team player, a great selection, 20 or so shirts in total. Deco is in there, Jean-Pierre Papin, one of the iconic France shirts. And if you want to win these, all you've got to do is tell me either your nickname or your favorite football nickname. And the reason for the question is because today is sponsored by the Johann Krauf Institute, and Krauf had a number of different nicknames, from El Flaco and Joppy, which means number 14, to the Saviour. So what I want you to do is have a think about what people call you. Make sure they're clean, please. Or have you got a favorite footballer, and does he or she have an absolutely ridiculous nickname? Get in contact with me. Have a little bit of fun as well at Soccerex for all of your answers via Twitter. And please do use the hashtag SoccerexConnected as well. We've already had loads of entries. I'll read out some of them in just a moment. But I mentioned that today is sponsored by the Johann Krauf Institute, and we're therefore going to learn a little bit more about them, not just today, but throughout the course of the week as well. And in this panel, A View from the Top, our final speaker comes from the Johann Krauf Institute, and it's their general manager, Marielle Korhus. And earlier in the week, I was able to catch up with her and talk a little bit about the business plan behind the Institute and how it's been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Soccerex Connected, Ben Jacobs with you. Delighted now to be joined by Marielle Korhus, the General Manager of the Johann Krauf Institute, to talk all things about this wonderful educational and coaching institute. She is the General Manager there. Marielle, it's great that you're able to join us remotely here for Soccerex Connected. And let's start from the very beginning. Give us an overview of what the Johann Krauf Institute is, first and foremost, and how it was founded.
Thank you very much, Ben. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to take part in the Soccerex edition. Well, actually, Johann Krauf Institute was founded 20 years ago by Johann Krauf himself, a former football player, coach, visionary man, and he had actually the purpose of enabling dual careers for athletes. So he started a first bachelor degree in sport marketing for elite athletes in the Netherlands in partnership with the University of Applied Sciences of Amsterdam. And this was actually 20 years ago, and what has been actually a first program for athletes is now a globalized learning organization. We have been over the last 20 years diversifying our program portfolio, not only bachelor degrees, but also graduate degrees and special master programs and courses, not only for athletes, but also for professionals that are working now in the sports industry and they would like to develop their managerial skills and knowledge in sport management, but also for people that have graduated in other disciplines and that have a passion for sport and are willing and driven to develop their professional careers within the sports industry. So this is what we do. We educate the next generation of leaders in sport management.
And did Johann have any particular concerns before founding the Institute in order to ensure that, first and foremost, it fitted with his brand, and in addition, it stood out and was unique compared to other similar institutes that strive for some of the same goals?
Well, yes, actually, the athletes that are still active in their sports career have like a challenge, which is combine their very competitive training schedules, their competition schedules, traveling a lot with their academic preparations. And well, 20 years ago, that was a big challenge. It still is actually for athletes. The way in which we have been able to create flexible learning paths for athletes, but also for professionals that are now having, they're active in their professional lives, is something that made us unique. Not only the flexible way in which we offer our learning solutions and our programs, but also the way in which we see the educational model. We see each student as in the center of the learning process. They take up a lot of responsibility for their own learning process, and we guide them whilst they are developing their academic preparation. The fact that we have been founded by an athlete means that we are sports 100%. So what makes us different is that actually we are not any other university or any other business schools offering a sport management or sport marketing, sponsoring or football business or coaching program, but we just do this. We are very much focused on sport management, sport marketing and sponsoring, football business and coaching, meaning coaching, not the technical coaching, but the personal development programs, the leadership development programs. And this is all sports. So the students are sports people, the professors are practitioners that combine their consultancy or their other professional duties with teaching at our programs. The partners that we partner up with are sports entities within the sports industry, federations. We work together with football clubs, sports clubs, federations, committees, organisms all over the world, which makes that finally it's a large global community where students, professors, partners come together and exchange knowledge and share experiences in the sports industry.
So clearly, one of the fundamental aims is to help students transition into the business of football, some of which will obviously still take place on or around the football field, but other aspects may be more tangential to the actual action of sport. And therefore, your institute presumably is about developing mentors that can go out and make an impact, ultimately at leadership level within the business of football.
Exactly. Johann had a very clear purpose, which was, he always said, the best people to manage sport organizations are those who have a heart of an athlete. So he was very much convinced that it's not only the passion, which is essential for sport, and in his case, is passion for football, that can make you finally a good professional, but also managing sport organizations means that you have to develop professional skills, that you have to acquire knowledge, specific knowledge and technical knowledge on how to manage sports organizations. And in any case, doing business and being successful in football business isn't enough just for being enough for being successful in business, there is also like a different mission, which is having leaders in place and having leaders leading and managing sport organizations with a different purpose, which is also the impact that you might have. So actually, finally, as a student, as an athlete, as a manager, as a leader within football business, there is also like a different role that we all have, and which Johan always envisioned, that it's also for the best of sport and society, and it's for the best of football business and society. So we are like ambassadors of finally the legacy of Johan Krauf, which aims to make a difference in the sports industry, and specifically as we are in Soccerex in football business.
And no doubt you've had thousands of students, so far too many to name, Marielle, but are you able to just name drop one or two of the higher profile footballers that are affiliated to the Johann Cruyff Institute?
Yes, actually, we have been educating 9,000 sports professionals all over the world that have taken a program with us. And either in our campus in Amsterdam, for example, Edwin van der Sar, who is CEO of Ajax, has been taking a Master in Sport Management program with us in Amsterdam. Memo Ochoa, Mexican goalkeeper, has studied with us on the virtual campus in this case. So he did a postgraduate degree in football business with us on the virtual campus. We have football players that are now also taking part in the technical staff of Everton. Lieke Martens, which is a female football player, Football Club Barcelona. She's now has done a vocational training program when she was a little bit younger with us in the Netherlands. Bojan is at this moment studying with us a Master in Sport Management online from Canada. So there are a lot of people that either are still active football players that are still active now, as also former football players that are taking programs with us in the different campuses that we have over the world, and or on our virtual campus, and are now very or preparing themselves for once they retire from football career, so that they have been able to prepare themselves and continuing a productive life after retirement, or they are already having senior positions within a football business and are still taking part in this large community, which is the Krauf community all over the world.
Great stuff. Well, Marielle, it's been amazing catching up and hearing the story of the Johann Cruyff Institute. It's also brilliant that you and your team are continuing his legacy in such a wonderful way. We'll keep following and supporting you here at Soccerex Connected. But for now, thank you very much indeed for your time.
It was a real pleasure, Ben. Thank you. And looking forward to taking part again in the Soccerex. Thank you.
That was Marielle Koerhaus, the general manager of the Johann Cruyff Institute, speaking to my unshaven, slightly less well-groomed twin brother, also known as Ben Jacobs. We caught up, of course, earlier in the week. And today is day one of Soccerex Connected, and it's sponsored by the Johann Cruyff Institute. And what that means in practical terms for you is there's an opportunity to win a signed shirt. And because Cruyff had a ton of different nicknames, including the Saviour and Joppy, as well as the Skinny One, much like myself, as I said earlier, all I want to know from you is, what are some of your favorite footballer nicknames, or what is your own personal nickname? And all you have to do is tweet us via @Soccerex, use the hashtag SoccerexConnected, and at the end of each day, we'll pick out a winner, and you'll get to choose from a selection of amazing signed shirts, including Edwin van der Sar, Laurie Lindsay, Deco, and Jean-Pierre Papin, or Jean-Pierre Pup in, as I've termed it on my own Twitter @JacobsBen, because I've posted a photograph of my dog, Winnie the Poodle, wearing that particular shirt. So have some fun with us. Feel free as well just to engage with us more generally. Compliments are, of course, welcome. I'd love to get your thoughts on some of the panels in particular. A little bit later, we'll hear from Howard Webb, who fronts a panel we've got, which is called Changing Offside to Keep the Fans Onside. That's this afternoon. And if you've got any thoughts on the offside rule and whether we should be giving preference to attackers, if referees should be judging things a bit more liberally, or if you actually quite like how microscopically we're looking at decisions, and if accuracy is the most important thing, maybe that's the side of the fence that you sit on. Either way, send me your thoughts and we'll put them to the panel a little bit later. And the full schedule is available on the app and also via our website as well. So please do keep engaging with us. And via Twitter, we've already had some entries to the competition. Thank you to David Kilpatrick. A very good morning to you. He says, I've had a few playing nicknames as a player: Poet, Killer, and Dr. K. I mean, those three nicknames are so different and extreme. Not entirely sure how you can be a poet and a killer. One's quite placid and the other is far too aggressive. I'm sure if you were the killer, you got a number of red cards throughout your career. But thank you for engaging with me. And Brittany Alvarado has also been in touch and said, David Beckham, Spice Boy. That was sort of the unofficial nickname, wasn't it? Bex is obviously the more known one. And Mark Sibbons has been in touch as well and said Ronnie for Ronaldinho. So thank you very much indeed for engaging with us via social media. And like I say, if you want to win that signed shirt today, just tell us either your nickname or your favorite footballer's nickname, and you stand the opportunity to win one of those amazing signed shirts. So stay with us here on day one of Soccerex Connected, presented by the Johann Krauf Institute. We've got loads coming up over the course of the day, and at 1 o'clock GMT, so in about 15 minutes time, we begin with our opening panel debate, having obviously just had view from the top and heard from Javier Tebas, the LaLiga president, and a number of other top names, Juan, Carlos, Roberto as well, who is the president of Univision, and Mariel Coahurst too, Juan Carlos Rodriguez, I should say. Juan Carlos Alberto is one of those signed shirts available. He was the president of Univision, and Mariel Coahurst as well, the general manager of the Johann Krauf Institute. And up next, 1 o'clock, football big business. That is our focus, and we will be discussing whether the big business of football is affecting the community orientated nature of this sport. So do stay with us. That's coming next on day one of Soccerex.